Meeting to order for Monday, March 11th. Approval of the agenda, please. Councillor Noxana.
That all items in the March 11th, 2024 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting agenda be approved as presented.
That's perfect. Seconder, Councillor Dussault. All in favor? Carried. Adoption of minutes for February 12th, 2024 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting minutes. Recommendation, please. Councillor Gillick.
That the February 12th, 2024 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Clickash. Any errors or omissions? All in favor? Carried. Any business arising from the minutes, Council? Staff?
There is none.
Thank you. Delegations, Tumbler Ridge Community Association responding to extended services, TR Cares. Rose Snyder, Shauna, Shea, invited by council to discuss potential support for the organization. Rose, welcome. Welcome. Thank you very much for coming and being present for council. I have some questions. Previous meetings, we were in a discussion in regards to transportation of residents, whether it was medical, non-medical, all that, and we almost went down the road of starting the process, going to the government looking for funding or a model or something like that before we reached out to your organization. So my apologies for that. So that's the reason we had asked for you to come, just to see if there's anything council in general can help out or advocate for TR Cares, or TR Cares wants to do any more runs. That's kind of the information we're looking for. So I mean, maybe you want to give an overview of TR Cares and how many runs you do a week, where to, which are allowed.
Sure. Well, thank you, first of all, for that. I have to admit, I was on holidays and was watching some meetings and saying, well, I mean, first of all, it's council's prerogative to create those types of conditions without the assistance of TR Cares, if that was something that was the desire of council. At this point in time, and if I may take a few moments, some of you, I've been advised, are not totally familiar with who and what TR Cares is. If you haven't had need to use us, then why would you necessarily know in depth what we do? So we started in 2001 ad hoc, not as a society, but as neighbors, friends, and a church group, helping transport the people who came with the housing sale to find out there is no transportation to medical appointments or things out of town. So that was done on a shirt tail and a quarter, quite literally, and a 21-year-old van, and then we were donated a 15-year-old van. And at that point, we had started the paperwork to create a society, TR Cares. We had hoped to be able to call it TR Cares, but they denied that, which is why it's got a name 7 feet long. At the time, we created the looked around the community and said what was missing, what did we need, could we do to help unite the new Tumbler Ridge of 2001. One thing that was missing was a lot of societies with members. We had more than half of our community disappear overnight. So TR Cares became, its mandate included at that time, which we have deviated and changed some of our mandate over the years, an umbrella group for other groups. So in the beginning, when we did get our paperwork, which was 2003, I believe, to become a society, it included an ad hoc group. So we had other organizations under us as a registered charity society. So they didn't have to go through all of that work for a registered charity, such as soccer teams, the Boy Scouts, Girl Guide-like group. We had restorative justice, Citizens on Patrol, the DARE funding, not the program. The RCMP are obligated to produce that and give that program. And currently we have Safe House, it's called HOURS. Housing and shelter is our responsibility as a community. That runs under us with a ad hoc group as well, so that funding that they may apply for can go through our organization. And as long as it meets the mandate of TR Cares, which is extensive, we will look at any other groups as well to come under us. That in turn puts a member on our board. And they're obligated to keep their own records and books and report to us at the end of the year, and we include that information to move forward. So in the last number of years, volunteerism has declined dramatically right across the world. I think it's gotten extremely tight since COVID. I don't know if it's the people afraid to go out or just moving on or whatever. So TR Cares carried on and has carried on, and we have been continually operating since 2001 with the society since 2003, and we were fundraising every way we could to get people out of town to medical appointments predominantly, because that was the major need by the community. X-rays, all of the testing, cancer treatments, or at that time were not available in Dawson, but we could at least get them transportation then out of town with the regular buses that operated then. That was pre the Northern Health Bus service. At the time in 2003, I was on council and I was at a regional district meeting, and a gentleman by the name of Shauna, I can't remember his last name, made a proposal, information to the regional that there was a proposal for a new thing called the Northern Health Bus. One place that didn't include was Tumbler Ridge. Sean Hardiman, I knew, just got to think a minute. So I approached Sean Hardiman after the meeting and told him about what we do in Tumbler. Would there be a way of a contract to help us to be able to continue operating at some degree? Because it was tough. We had no jobs at those times. There were no mines open yet. It was a hope, like things were coming, but it was a real tough time. And so with that, we started negotiations with Transportation Northern Health, and we have been consistently operating. They contract us to provide a service they have outlined since 2006. So that has altered and changed throughout the years to one, demand, ability, and funding. So the funding we currently receive is adequate for the what we deliver in addition to the fundraising TR Cares does. It's not an issue. As council can see, we have not asked for any support or grants in quite a long time. I don't know, maybe 2018, 19, somewhere in there. We had we were doing a pilot project which they funded. And we did get some funding to obtain to purchase a building for the safe shelter through Community Futures renovations and stuff. But other than that, we fundraise mostly our own money and contracts. And I think this may be helpful. We are just finished. We got 2 more years on the current contract. We just finished negotiating and signing the new contract for the next 2 full years. And when we first got it, and right up to a couple of years ago, what we were obligated to provide was 1 day a week to Dawson Creek, 1 day a month to Fort St. John, and to Grand Prairie for specific appointments, if able to, that were not available in the north, such as heart doctor stuff that were not here at that time. And to Chetwynd to meet the Northern Health Bus once that became an entity. So currently, I have had that increased to 2 days a week, 6 times a year to Fort St. John, which we generally, it has declined because the specialists don't come there like they do. So we use those hours and time to redirect to Dawson where possible. And we are not currently going to to Grand Prairie, with the exception of the heart specialist and also an allergist person, I think that's there. And that's more to do with provincial guidelines and cross-border funding, I believe. So that's what we're obligated. What we deliver is usually 3 times that in a run of a year. We expect to pass our 1,000,000 kilometers in the next 2 years since we started. That's a lot of kilometers. It's also important to note we have no employees. We're all volunteer. We do offer an honorarium so that there's no expense incurred by our volunteers, because sometimes they're 10-hour days. I don't want to lose a volunteer because they can't afford to be one. Also, sometimes they may buy a meal for a patient or things like that. So we do try to offer that, and if we run out of that money, they kind of do it for free anyway. So we will never meet the needs of everybody in this community any more than council can. We try to keep our, we do have our regulations that we do ask to be upheld, and some of them are and some of them aren't. Including if there's 3 people, sometimes we will drop you where you ask to be dropped and then pick you up. It may be a friend's house, it may be the shopping mall, it may be whatever. They're very restricted as to what can come back. If we can't buy it, if we can buy it in Tumbler, then we ask you buy it in Tumbler if you can afford to do so. That's just part of our policy. Sometimes you can't. There's certain medical things or special foods, pardon the expression, but even depends, need importing at times. So that's kind of the general outline for that department of TR Cares. We also have a couple of other programs that we do continue to operate by referral only. And the powers that be aware of those have that information, such as medical, fire department, a lot of folks at town hall, library, we've had referrals from all over. And a big part of that is the safe shelter or safety program, which for obvious reasons I can't delve into too much. And that includes men, which we are the only program north of Vancouver providing safe shelter for men when available. And right now the hotels are full in Tumbler, so it's a little tough. But we're making do what best we can. We have a legal fund that has been supported over the years by legal agencies so that people who have no money might be able to get a legal opinion for many things, wills, divorce, settlements, things of that nature. Criminal, we do not touch anything to do with criminal courts. We also have a small bursary fund that we do offer to the schools for kids and things of that nature. And almost anything that comes up, people say, do you do this? And technically we may not, but we will try to find a way to make it happen. That's the Coles Notes version of what we do. And I do apologize, Miss Shea had planned to be here, but she went to Cancun instead. What's up with that? I don't know. Yeah.
Sounds
So
like
thank
following
you.
in your footsteps, because you
I know.
just returned, right? So thank you very much for the overview. I think it's very important to have that information out in front of council, just to show what you all do and stuff like that. And obviously, one of the things come out of that is your funding seems to be sufficient with your contract that you receive, and obviously that's obviously through government. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep. At this point in time, it certainly is. We will be getting a new van this year. And part of the funding that we do get, we of course squirrel away a portion so that like when we come time to get our new van, it's usually done in cash so that we own the vehicle and then the leasing agreement can continue so we can, it's mandatory to have a certain criteria on the vehicle. And yeah, so we try to be good stewards of the funds and do the best we can to meet their criteria first and then ours second. Like we can go above and beyond what they ask, and we do with funding.
Perfect. Councillor Noxena.
Thank you. That was great. Yeah, TR Cares does a lot more in the community than I was ever aware, and I thought that I knew a lot already, so that's great. It sounds like the needs for adults are met. Do you see a gap in services like for children being transported to appointments or anything?
We do not transport children with the exception of children who do not require any car seat. And the primary reason we don't transport children is exactly that. It would have to be specialized in being bolted in and fixed, et cetera, and also require a different level of insurance. And insurance has gone through the absolute roof. So we're just not able to meet that effectively, and so the decision was made rather than not go at all. We just cannot meet that need. We do have like 12 and over with, it must be a parent.
Absolutely fair.
Yeah.
Is this something that you feel is needed in Tumbler? Because I think we had a lot of conversation at our table about TR Cares does adults or teens. But if there was a need for more, that would be something we should absolutely be advocating for, because
Yeah, and you know, that might be something that could be looked at, in my opinion, that could be looked at maybe through another agency, like agencies that are already working with children, that have a vehicle, that sit all day or whatever. That definitely it does have a need. Even in transportation sometimes for us, when in my day job, there's certain criteria must be met. It's not like the old days where you could just get the job done, safety first. Now it's safety first. And insurance.
yeah. That's fair. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Julik?
Ditto what Nicole said. I didn't know, I knew you did a lot, didn't know it was quite that big. I think the big thing for me, and probably was one of the yappers on when you were watching some of the council meetings, it's definitely putting the cart before the horse, not, wanting to figure out where things are for you guys and where we can help out. I know that I'm the healthcare liaison at those meetings, and with the PCN, they're definitely not, transportation's not part of that package. No. Like, we'll definitely keep sending that message as committees and stuff to the province. Like Councillor Noxana said, if there's some gap that you see that we can fill, I also know when you say that you're short on volunteers, that definitely hinders what you're able to offer as well. And I know, and just flat out, I just thought it was a money problem. And so I'm hearing from you today, it's not a money problem.
Well, extra money's always a good problem to have, and we're open to any more you want to give, that's not a problem. The problem is consistent volunteers. And it might be small things, but as we all do our budgets, which you're doing now, and dollars and cents may not look important when you're dealing with a lot of money, and not that we have a lot of money, but if you don't take care of the cents, the dollars will disappear. So even insurance, for example, with the new changes to this really creative insurance the province has called No Fault, we have volunteers. Normally we'd go down to the thing, Mayor Darrell's going to volunteer. We go down, we put his name on the list. No big deal. Oh, yes, it is. Now it's $40 just to put his name on the list. And because it has to be changed. So now he's not able to continue next week, so you're going to come, there's another $40. Oh, but wait, you got that speeding ticket last year, now it's gone up $90. So for example, our vehicles are 2019, we just renewed the insurance. Our insurance this year is $600 more than last year because we have a 25-year-old volunteer who doesn't have a longevity of insurance, no tickets, no problems, and because we had one that got a ticket last year. No fault. Well, there's a fault when these things happen. If you start adding all those things, dollars and cents, and fuel prices up, operating two vehicles would be cost prohibitive to us. We don't have the people. We don't have the volunteers. When we started out, we had 30 in 2000, but we had a town that was retired. A lot of retired people moved here. So now we don't. And we do have volunteers, and there is some criteria that must be met. And for example, be available 1 week at a time, minimally for the month, sometimes 2, and you might not even get a call. Or there might be 3 that week. And that's not easy because it's very difficult if it's changing every day a different person. Right now, we have a volunteer who does all of the booking, takes and handles all of that, and deflects a lot of unpleasantries that come over the phone. That's really just not fair, but when you need to get somewhere, I understand. I had an individual go to the top, quite literally at that time, a few years ago, and it was Mr. Adrian Dix, and his office got a hold of us with this complaint. This is a few years ago, and it's like, you know what? If I was a person with cancer and I needed to get there, I can understand the anxiety that they're going through. But then my husband got cancer, and he manages all of the coordination with the drivers and the stuff. And we never one day could take TR Cares because it didn't meet our schedule. So there's irony. But you got to make a schedule. You have to try to meet the days of the specialists in Dawson and in Fort St. John and make it work. And we do our best to make it work. And our coordinator for the scheduled driving will get on Facebook and say, hey, does anybody going? We have a person who needs to go there, and we'll coordinate even that. Now that's above and beyond what happens, and we really wish we could meet everybody's needs. But if we go that one step higher, TR Cares would not be managing the contract because it would require certain licensing. Everybody'd have to have the right driver's license. You would have to pay a lot of money just to use the road as a transport. Yeah, it would be on us. Somebody else is free to maybe look at that, and we'd gladly give them all the information we could to help them.
Well,
So bottom line really is you're not in need of any money.
No money.
You just need a few more bodies, if you could,
Yep.
with that. And there's no red tape that you're looking for us to try and cut for you.
No.
Things are
No,
pretty.
we have a really good relationship with our with Northern Health department that we deal with all the time, and we have delivered above and beyond their expectations, on budget or under budget every year. And like we've always done with the district, if we're under budget, we return the funds, but they tell us to keep it. So we are able to try, move forward with where we're at. But quite frankly, I don't see us moving past this, where we're at this point, until we have more drivers or somebody else ready to, take over the helm. We can only do what we can do.
Exactly. Well, that's good information. Thanks a lot, Rose.
You're welcome.
So I have a couple of questions myself. How many volunteers do you have today?
Today we have drivers. We have 4 drivers right now, but we have one that will be gone for the summer because the district snacks him every summer at the golf course. But that's okay. He comes back every winter, and summer is our slower time because people who don't like driving in the winter will take us, and it's better to be safe than scared on those roads. So the winter is our busier month. Summer's pretty slow comparatively. And then we have 3 others, and Tim is a spare. My husband's a spare as well. And 4 to 5 is a good number to maintain for backup or call-outs. And if we're not out of town, we sometimes take some people in town as well. The clinic will notify us. We have a system in place. Yeah.
Well, I think you do an amazing job. The organization, I've been in Tumbler Ridge for a short time, and TR Cares was definitely something I heard about when I first moved here. And then being on ambulance, knowing what you all did through TR Cares. I have a question, and please don't take it negatively. My question to you would be, do you see a need to increase your amount of visits out of the community? And is your organization willing to do it?
We kind of already do. We already do. We've had weeks where there's, 5 trips in 5 days because of the bookings. So we have 2 days a week to Dawson Creek. We have 1 to Fort St. John. We have 2 or 3 the same week to go to Chetwynd to pick somebody up or drop somebody off for Northern Health. So to add to that already perspective that may happen, when we take you on Northern Health, we have to take you back. So that means you're going down to Prince George. We already have you booked in to come back. So we can't book another trip to Dawson Creek that day. I've been speaking with transportation on some of the changes I've been seeing coming up the pipeline with the Northern Health Bus and their scheduling. And they also have an ability now where we can take someone from Tumbler and get them to the specialist in Quesnel. But it takes 3 days. The area that needs funding, in my opinion, which is not necessarily, well, it's really not a municipal responsibility, is funding the people to be able to do it. So that people on fixed income, low income, and I'm crossovering to my day job here as well, that have pensions or disabilities or whatever it may be, or you're working at a job that isn't the mine or isn't big money, that expense to get hotel here, hotel there, if there's no space at Cordoban, which is great, but it's still $50. And all of those dollars add up. The Northern Health Bus, quite often you must be there several days just to get back. So these are definite huge holes that I'd love to have conversations with the health people or whatever to see how that funding might be obtained or distributed in a different way to be able to help folks out with, prescribed criteria.
Good comment there. I know I have the same thought, especially with the Northern Health Bus, just the way it's operational. But, council, anything else from council? Any other questions, comments? Councilor Dussault?
Hello, thank you for coming in. And yeah, you do a lot more than I knew that you did. I know we've had a few conversations about TR cares and whatnot, and I had no idea we were one of the only ones to offer men's shelter. I did not know about that one. So, but again, thank you for coming in and sharing.
Thank you. And it's important to note that's when available. And unfortunately, like, for example, today in Tumbler, I have no more space for anybody. We've had to ship out today, both genders. And if there's another tonight, I'm looking for somebody's basement. You got anything available? No, I'm just kidding. We will make it work. We do make it work. We find a way to make it because we can transport to other communities if the roads allow us. But yeah, it's just been a crazy kind of day. So that's important to keep in mind. It's not an endless supply, but at least it's something.
Okay, anything else from council? Just make another comment, and I just want to thank your organization, all your volunteers, your volunteer drivers, your boards. I mean, obviously, without you, we wouldn't have a way of getting residents out for medical appointments and such, and sorry that you take abuse from the oppositional side when you can't fit them in. But it is something that we're looking at. I won't say advocating for, like, obviously not to try to increase your guys' amount of runs you do, but maybe, with that Northern Health connection, maybe we're something we can work with through on Northern Health side at UBCMs and other conferences we go to, just to try and see if there's any dialogue of, if a person meets a certain criteria in their financial state, that they have hotel vouchers for them or something, just something to assist there, which may make it a lot more user-friendly for the people in the north.
Yeah, because there's a lot of regulations involved, even in using the Northern Health Bus. And of course, we are obligated to uphold some of those same regulations when operating for Northern Health. It gets a little confusing with the public, and I can appreciate that, because not every day we go is a Northern Health day. So you can say, well, she took me last week on a, yeah, but you know what? This fits this one with referral from the whatever. But we are certainly not obligated, nor can we explain that to every person who calls. So yeah, I do appreciate it. And I want to make one comment, if I may, Mayor.
Please.
I have been in a lot of discussions in Tumbler Ridge with our service continuing, because there have been multiple communities who have tried to do what we're doing. To my understanding, the only one left, or the latest one, is maybe Fort St. James, and it's run through the district, is actually running the program that we do. None that I've tried before have been able to sustain it, and I think the reasons are probably similar to what we're dealing with in the last number of years since COVID as well. But they are really looking, and I do know this, they're reevaluating their scheduling, because they have the same problem. 1 month they might have 12 people on that bus, and the next week 2, but yet they can't not run. So how do you guess what the public's going to do? it's in my opinion, if it's something you can look at, it would be very helpful to go to the medical top, because we still have some flack getting people to sign our documents from Northern Health when they go to an appointment. So it starts at the top down with coordinating as a whole. And I mean, we've got the groups and the teams working here. I haven't made it yet, but where we can maybe look at that as a more coordinating, cohesive unit.
Yeah.
That makes us all work better.
Yeah, and I think that definitely helps for sure.
Yeah, great.
Councillor Julik?
I think you should let us know when you're close to your 1,000,000 kilometers so we could have a big party for you. 'Cause
I agree.
I don't know that we give a shout out to you guys enough in the community, and
not
I
looking
think,
for it.
I know you're not. Here's the thing though, I also know that the pat on the back is just, and it's not about a pat on the back, that doesn't sound like it's good enough. It's just, that's how you keep volunteers, so people know that they're wanted rather than the person who gets all of the
That's right. Well,
over
and
here.
thank you for that, Councillor, and it's important to note, like, we've had over 100 volunteers in 25, almost 24 years, I should say. That without them, this couldn't happen. It's not me. I just,
You
a little
coordinate
bit of
it.
glue.
You keep all of the stuff up in your head, which just blows my mind some days too. I can't even. So yeah, I would love to be able to celebrate you when that happens.
I'd love to do it.
And yeah, and you know what? I know you're super busy. If we could do, I would be happy to come and see you once a month and just get an update of where you're at, because I know sometimes those meetings just don't work for everybody. So
Yeah.
because I found out a lot of stuff today, and I wish I was going to go to the AGM. I wished I'd have reached out to you sooner, just so I had a little bit better understanding. So
Yep, no worries.
thanks so much.
Thank you for asking. We really appreciate clarity over Facebook.
Thank you very much again, Rose, for coming in on behalf of TR Cares. Appreciate it. Okay, 5.2, Tumbler Ridge Minor Hockey U18 team. Monty Hendrickson and Blaine Stokes in attendance to request an extension on arena ice time.
No, it's okay.
Welcome. Floor is yours, Monty.
Why, thank you. Yeah, I guess I'm Monty Hendrickson. You guys probably all know me, or I at least know you guys anyway. We are looking at putting together a rep level midget team next year. Midget is U18. They've recently changed the name of it. Offensive, I guess. And in order to pull this off, we need to pull together like they call it a ID skate, or it's more like a spring tryout to see what kind of level of team we have for next year. And our time would have to be within the first 2 weeks of April to pull this off. So the date I'm actually looking at would be Friday, April the 12th. That works with the coaches. So I know currently I have on there till April 15th. That would be fine too. Right now, we're looking at just doing one ID skate, possibly two. We might pull one together just for locals, and then put one together with locals and anyone else in the area that's interested. This will be, I have on the sheet there, this is the first midget team in 18 years. I've been corrected on that. 2012 is the last time we had a midget team. It's been 18 plus years since we've had a rep level midget team like this. So this would be kind of a special thing. We want to really push hard this year to try and get some good sponsorships and try to get good things going with this team of kids. Right now we got 13 that would be interested that have all played a high level of hockey. A good majority of them are currently playing out of town in Dawson, just because that's where this level of hockey is. And to see here would be terrific.
Okay. Thanks very much for coming in, Monty, and thanks for giving a presentation in regards to what it's about with the U18 and such. And, you know, to hear that we have 13 of our youth traveling to other communities within the Peace region to play a higher level of hockey, and this is an ask from the organization, or from yourself anyways, to keep the ice in and go from there. I don't have a whole bunch of questions, but just want to inform you that there is nothing that's ever decided delegation night.
Right?
Just so you know,
Okay.
during the delegation, doesn't mean it isn't on the agenda later on, which it is. But just nothing's decided during the delegation, just so you know.
Okay, do you know when you guys would want to vote on this and get this, give it a yay or a nay?
It's later on in our agenda.
Okay.
So we did add it under reports, just during the delegation, we don't make any decisions, just want to.
No, that's fair.
Reminding council when we start asking questions and stuff, and then when all of a sudden instead of asking the delegation a question or a comment, we start debating whether we're in support of it, that debate will happen later on in the meeting.
Okay, terrific.
Councillor Noxana, then Councillor Julik.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in. Just clarifying, it's a spring tryout, so next month for next year's season. So starting in September, you'd be playing hockey, hopefully.
Yeah, so this is like a preliminary, who's interested in trying out for the team.
Okay.
And then our actual tryouts would probably be late August, early September. Because we'd have to have a team together by, I'd say about September 20th. So we could actually be put into a league.
Okay. And you're thinking about 13 kids from Tumbler Ridge?
Yeah, that's where our number is right now.
How many would you be hoping to get from other communities in?
Well, the biggest team we can have is about 21. So, and of the 13 kids, because this is a hitting level of hockey, of 13, I'd probably say 10 I'd feel comfortable throwing on the ice right away for sure. 3 of them, they'd probably make the cuts to make the team because they are local, but it would be concerning to have them on the ice a lot. Once the first couple months get through and they get used to the how rough the sport can be, they'd be fine, but it'd be a wake-up call because we haven't had this level of hockey in Tumbler Ridge.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you coming in. It's always great to hear about our local club doing something for our kids.
Yes.
Councillor Julik.
Hey, so U18 covers what ages then?
15, 16, 17, and occasionally you can get an 18 in there, depending when their birthday is or when they're graduating high school.
Okay. The other question, Monty, is if you weren't able to, sorry, let me back this up. Are there a bunch of hoops you have to jump through to get the rep team? And would you still be interested in having the U18 team, even if it didn't go to rep?
We'd lose a lot of kids. So there's, right now there's 8 kids playing out, that the reason why they're playing out's for that level of hockey. So if we just end up with a house team, they wouldn't be back here. And honestly, we wouldn't have enough kids then to actually put a age group together for that.
So can you give me, well, I shouldn't say give me, do you anticipate any issues in being the rep team? I'm totally supportive of it. I guess for me, I'm just looking like, not that it's probably going to affect my decision.
From the public's perspective, they probably wouldn't know the difference, right? They'd go down, they'd see kids 15 to 18 years old playing hockey, right? And be like, wow, this is fast hockey. But they wouldn't know the difference if it was rep or house unless you were in the know.
Okay, so you don't, like, there's nothing special you have to do to get that?
Well, I'm working on that with a league called the All Peace League,
Okay.
which deals with that level of hockey. So I've already been in communications with that group. I'm waiting to hear back if they will accept Tumbler Ridge. If we left in bad terms, they wouldn't want us back, but conveniently enough, we left in good terms 6, 7, 8 years ago, so we're looking like we're in good shape.
Well, thanks for doing this for our kids. I really appreciate it.
I like doing it.
Councillor Klikash.
Hey, Monty, how many U18 rep teams are there in the area?
So I guess it'd be Dawson Creek and Fort St. John. That'd be it.
So there's only 2.
Yeah, and then Fort St. John, actually, I think it's got 2 levels in Fort St. John. And then at that point, sometimes they even take the kids up to junior level. So that's like up to 21-year-old.
Right.
So Fort St. John has a lot of selection. Dawson usually has 1 of this level. Sometimes they have enough to put 2 together. So that's about it right now.
Great, thanks.
So just to follow up with that question, I think maybe some clarity for us is these teams aren't looking at playing the three teams only, they travel to play other communities, right?
Oh, yeah,
Wade
so what,
Minister-
there's like, the old valuing method would be like A, double A, triple A. So now they call it tier 1, 2, and 3. So due to our community size, we would be just in a single A or a tier 3. But due to our talents that we have, we're probably gonna be into a double. I don't think we'd be fitting into a triple A level. So that puts us into the All-Peace League, and we'd be playing mostly in Alberta. Because that seems to be where most of the same level sits. And if we didn't do that, we'd have to go into a Mountain League, which is Prince George and South. So I'd rather go Alberta. There's a lot more closer teams that way.
And those teams would also come back to Tumbler Ridge to play you here. If you're going out to
Oh,
play,
yeah,
they'd be here.
absolutely they would. And we'd be looking at hosting a tournament, and we'd also be going tournaments ourselves. So it'd be a packed year of hockey.
Okay, and then just in regards to waiting to hear if you can get into the all-piece, would this hinder you to get into the all-piece?
No, so what we'd end up doing, the other option was we would just be a traveling tournament team. So I'd set up 8 or 10 tournaments through the year, and then we'd host one ourselves, and we just go travel to tournaments every weekend. So that's the backup plan.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Mayor. I heard the maximum's 21. What's the minimum to be viable? How many kids do you need for this to really work?
I think the rules is minimum is 8
Okay,
and a goalie, but I think minimum, I think we would need 12 plus a goalie to really make it work to have enough kids.
okay.
Okay. Councillor Clickash?
Yeah, Monty, what about the money? Because I coached AAA hockey before, and it was usually around $12,000 a kid.
Yep. Well,
But this was back in 80 to 90, in the 80s and early 90s. So it must be like $20,000 a kid now.
Well, the nice thing here is we're working with we're not gonna be our own entity. We're gonna be still under Tumbler Ridge Minor Hockey. So like the ice fees are still covered under minor hockey, jerseys are still under minor hockey. So a lot of the costs are already covered. And yeah, a lot of the rep teams, they have full busing, coaches are paid. There's a lot of that goes on that we're not gonna be offering. Bus rides, we will be doing some bus rides. I've already talked to Kanuma on providing us some buses for some longer trips and stuff, so a lot of the I'm thinking anything that's about 4 hours and closer will just be relying on parents to drive. Coaches are gonna be fully volunteering. As conveniently enough, they got kids on the team.
Follow-up question, Councillor Clickash?
That's it, thanks.
Cool. Any other questions from council? Okay, just want to take the time, thank you very much for coming in, Monty. Thank you for supporting the youth
Absolutely.
and coming forward, hoping that this will work for you.
All right, well, thank you very much.
You bet, thank you. Okay, 5.3, Rogers Communication Inc., Kavi Ball to present to council on update post-Roger Shaw merger, connectivity initiatives and local projects. Good evening, Kavi.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me here tonight. I appreciate your time. My name is Kavi Ball, and I'm the Director of Government Affairs for Rogers Communications. I'm joining you here today from Vancouver, and we'll do a quick presentation, and then we can get on with the discussion and hopefully answer some questions and guide the conversation. Is it helpful if I share my screen, or do you have my presentation in front of you?
We have it, but you can share your screen. Would it be good, because maybe on Zoom can see it?
Perfect. I will share my screen in 2 seconds here. Excellent. I'll just begin by giving an overview of the company. I know lots have changed before. Past colleagues of mine have been able to come in front of the district of Tumble Ridge or provide some information. As many of you know, over the last year, Rogers has come together with Shaw in a merger that merged the two companies. Particularly, this is quite interesting and interesting for us and expands our footprint in Western Canada, where Rogers was, before the merger, Rogers predominantly had wireless connectivity service in Western Canada with select amounts of wireline fiber. Coming together with Shaw has allowed us to expand and enter into larger areas with our wireline products. Besides that, I just a very high level overview of the company. We're not just cell phones, TV, and services, but there's also a significant broadcasting and media arm with some brands that may be familiar to you, including Sportsnet, City TV, and Omni, as well as the Shopping Channel and numerous radio stations across the country. Right now, our major presences are in Ottawa, Montreal, Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton, and Vancouver, with offices in each region, and of course our service employees and frontline employees across Canada and local communities. Currently, right now, the bulk of the work that Rogers is undertaking as part of our merger and commitments is making sure that we are looking at all of British Columbia to expand and enhance our digital infrastructure and digital footprint while bringing connectivity to the region. Right now, as part of our merger commitments with Industry and Science Canada, we have promised to spend $500 million within the province of BC to expand wireless and wireline networks to highways and communities that currently have no connectivity, as well as rural, remote, and Indigenous communities as defined by the federal government. I can't speak too much about that today, but I hope to come back in a number of weeks to months to give council an update. Currently, those processes are under negotiation, and we're working with our government partners closely to evaluate what they need from telecom providers and what we can provide given our services. But I do want to touch on two notable projects that don't touch Tumbler Ridge directly, but are regional and increased regional connectivity. One is a fiber line from Prince George to Dawson Creek has been recently completed that runs along Highway 97, pardon me. And then secondly, we're approaching our first build season on a similar transport fiber line from Shetland up to Fort St. John that follows Highway 29. And again, on the Highway 29 project, we're approaching our first construction season in the summer, while the Highway 97 project has just completed and is currently being incorporated into our network. Along this slide, you will see a bit of a map of our holistic network. This is significantly expanded, bringing together the Shaw assets. Right now, the network teams at Rogers are currently working to make sure that the two networks are integrated. As you can understand, this project takes some time, but we're working community by community to make sure that our networks are seamless and they work together, and we're able to offer services across the province, whether that ranges from wireline services, wireless services, and to some of the new initiatives that we're touching on. Particularly to Tumbler Ridge, I do want to add at this point, and I'm sure we'll have a later discussion about the details of this, is our network team is currently looking and analyzing sites for a macro tower that supports cell service in Tumbler Ridge. I know a few locations were looked at upon a desktop exercise. We are facing some technical challenges, but we are continuing to search and hope to have a site in mind. And then after that site has been looked at, I think the process ranges about 2 to 3 years out to complete a build. So that is in its early stages, and we hope to see some progress on that soon, and we can discuss that after in the Q&A period. Just to give you an example of wireless coverage and its challenges in Canada, I just wanted to bring up this slide very briefly. Canada, as you know, especially British Columbia, has a pretty unique geography, and BC, we're challenged with a lot of topographical challenges, as well as density, making Canada one of the most challenging places to build network and especially build cellular network. A comparable country is Australia in terms of population and size, but in Canada, as we're well aware, and in BC, our mountains and our forests make it even more challenging to bring cellular connectivity to the most remote and rural places where we all live. Despite this, the CRTC reports that 99% of Canadians have access to wireless coverage, and 91% have access to 5010 upload and download internet access. And of course, working with our partners, we want to get that number higher and higher every year. One of the more interesting things that we're working on is we're happy to share that last winter we did our first test call using satellite to mobile technology. This satellite to mobile technology is a little different than your standard satellite phone. It's actually using iPhones and Android phones that we have in our pockets today, but launching low orbit satellites and turning on certain features in the phone to make connectivity available wherever the satellite can hit in terrestrial view. Oh, sorry about that. So right now, Rogers is partnering with SpaceX and Link Global to do this work. And as I mentioned, we made our first call in late November last year with the Premier of Newfoundland, who was able to call his safety and wildfire experts using a normal cell phone. So this call was done. We tested some SMS coverage. We tested some voice over satellite, and we tested texting capabilities and video capabilities. Right now, our hope is to launch commercial services of satellite to mobile phone technology in 2024 by the end of the year, starting with text messaging services. And that would improve mass notifications and emergency alerts in some of our most remote highway corridors and some of our most remote regions. As we move forward and are able to deploy more satellites, this technology would expand to cover voice calls and data. But I would remind folks that the coverage will be slower than what you would expect from regular terrestrial applications, whether that's cell phone antennas and towers and the 5G coverage and the LTE coverage that we enjoy currently. But it is important tool for first responders and from the safety aspect to connect more Canadians in some of those really challenging remote regions so that we can work together with expanding 911 services and emergency providers to make sure folks are connected. Similarly, just a quick slide here, you'll see right now on the left here that today's satellite phone technology covers a satellite phone connected with a satellite that is in outer orbit. The new technology that is coming into market uses what are called LEO satellites, low orbit satellites, to connect regular mobile phones. Currently, the next steps to have this technology implemented in Canada is working with the federal government and regulatory agencies to get the correct regulatory approvals, the licenses, and the bands of spectrum that are required to deploy this technology. And again, right now, we're hoping to track towards the end of the year to bring that initial SMS coverage to Canada. Lastly, a piece that I wanted to highlight is innovation and partnership is a big piece of what we're doing at Rogers right now. And climate resilience has come up over and over again in conversations that we're having across the province. Currently, Rogers is partnered with UBC and the BC Wildfire Service to explore new forest fire prevention technologies. Currently, again, working with partners such as SpaceX and others, we're looking to deploy sensors and camera technology in some of our most remote and rural areas where where we already have pre-existing cell phone towers. The plan is to deploy a certain number of sensors and cameras that can detect wildfires as they're beginning, and deploy that information back to the BC Wildfire Service in addition to other data points that can help model and predict fire behavior and propagation during active fires, as well as other information that the Wildfire Service deems useful. We're currently working with the BC Wildfire Service to figure out where these first initial test sensors are going to be located, and conversations have included northern British Columbia and the region around Tumbler Ridge, to make sure that we can utilize our assets there and in the surrounding areas and partner to make sure that we're bringing together the latest of innovation while working together with our government partners to mitigate any types of wildfire threats. As these solutions are more studied and proven, we look to expand them over the next several years, depending on the feedback that we get from our partners at UBC who are researching and the Wildfire Service itself. And that is my presentation. I'll stop sharing and we can get into the crux of discussion.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. I'm going to open up the floor for council if they have any questions. Councillor Julich.
I'm super excited to hear about this texting thing with the satellite, so I don't have to have an inReach necessarily, for particular on the north, in the north corridors. I've been part of some tourism conversations, and that's one of the big hurdles is having that cell service along the way. So even if it's slower, it's nice to know that that kind of technology is out there. So I'm excited to have that, and that we could possibly have another service. I'm all about competition. I think it's a good thing. Keeps towns and businesses alive, and we don't have any competition in Tumbler Ridge. We only have one self-service provider. So thanks very much. I appreciate all the information here. I don't necessarily have a question for you. I just wanted to say thanks, and I'm excited to hear about the stuff that you guys are doing.
Appreciate it, Councillor. And yes, the mobile to satellite technology is particularly interesting. I think it's going to have a lot of applications, and making sure that there is a level of connectivity in, again, the most rural and remote parts of British Columbia and the rest of Canada, while other deployments such as fiber or macro cell towers are being built. So it's right now, I think, will provide vital access to network and then complement other networks that are being built.
Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Ball. I'm glad to see that in the safety applications for that anywhere coverage for even SMS. I think that'll be great. I noticed you're very cell phone heavy on the presentation. My concerns are more on the internet side of things for our town. I don't know if you're familiar with what we currently have or timelines on what Rogers is planning to hopefully bring. Right now we have a lot of people that are 15 megabits or less on service. Is there something that's in the near future pipeline for Rogers for the area that would improve that?
Appreciate that, Councillor, and we're starting with that first macro site in Tumbler Ridge as far as cell service, but we are looking to see how we can expand our fiber footprint in the area. The projects that are being completed, that have completed along Highway 97 and even Highway 29, are providing some critical gaps and to connecting our mainline networks. I wish I could provide some more detail right now, but I know a lot of these projects are under discussions with our federal government partners. So I hope to have some definite answers and more details in the coming weeks and months, at which I'd be happy to connect with staff or come back to council, provide an update on timelines and future progress.
I appreciate the limitations, and thank you. I would appreciate also if you did do that, if you kept staff informed. I think that's one of our larger issues right now for communications technologies is our internet access.
Will do, Councillor.
Thanks.
Any more questions from council? So I have a couple, and that's in regards to the fiber along Highway 97 through Chatwin there. So my understanding from the Minister with Citizen Services is that will help us with looping our lines in, because we're about, I know maybe you can't speak to it, but we have about 45 kilometers that's left to give us an actual loop. So up Highway 52 has been complete, but from Highway 29 from Chatwin to a wind project has been done. But there's about 45 kilometers. My understanding from Citizen Services when we met at the UBCM was as we see more and more of the fiber coming to the north, whether that's, along Highway 97 through Chatwin up to Fort St. John, that will help finish that loop on coming in from the backside from Tumbler to Chetwood. Is that correct?
That is correct, Councillor. And so as those projects are, as I've said before, the 97 project is complete and it's getting integrated into the network. The Highway 29 project is approaching its first build season. So we expect work on that to progress shortly. Those two projects are key and vital to expanding connectivity to the last mile projects such as Tumbler Ridge. These transport lines are critical pieces to our network to bring that connectivity and bring that level of services to areas that we haven't before. So as they are getting complete, our work is completing on Highway 29. We make sure that these networks are built with future expansion in mind and how we get to the last remaining areas. So it is very exciting to see these projects come to fruition, start construction or end construction, and then next steps are being evaluated and how we continue to build off these network infrastructure improvements, because certainly the job is not done.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that insight. I just wanted to confirm on that side of it. The other question I have before I go to Councillor Hoffman would be, when you talked in regards to your partnership with UBCM and BC Wildfire Service in the Northeast and looking at a monitoring station, you mentioned Tumbler Ridge. Has that been finalized?
Right now, we're working with BCWS and we're finalizing the locations. But northeastern British Columbia is certainly a spot that BCWS is pointing us towards and looking to utilize our assets. I believe we are looking at about 1 to 2 more months of just working out the details before a public announcement is made about these sensors and the details on locations.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Mayor. And Mr. Ball, you triggered me with that mentioning of last mile aspects. Are they still doing hard lines the last mile, or is that going to wireless? If it's a tech question that you're not your area, that's fair enough. But that's obviously one of the problems I see going forward for all the rural and remote stuff. That if we're digging to houses, then it takes a whole lot more of that last stretch. So I was wondering if the technology was shifting or not.
So right now we're analyzing both technologies, Councillor. We do have a new fixed wireless access technology that is a large improvement to what we've seen in the past, but it does require fiber to the macro site. So when the detailed plans are being made, there is some degree of debate or consideration between fixed wireless access and wireline fiber. But considering please don't quote me on this, but usually what happens in BC, considering our topography and considering other aspects, wireline is seeming to be a better solution.
Follow up, Councillor Hoffman? Perfect. Any more questions from council? All right, seeing no more questions, thanks very much, Kavi, for joining us and giving us your presentation and answering our questions.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Thank you so much, council and staff. Please reach out if there's anything I can do to follow up or provide more information.
Perfect. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Take care.
Kate reports Tumbler Ridge Minor Hockey request. Correspondence from Monty Hendrickson, representing Tumbler Ridge Minor Hockey, requesting an extension of ice time. Recommendation. Councillor Knoxella.
That the council receives the Tumbler Ridge Minor Hockey's correspondence for discussion.
Seconder, Councillor Dussault. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Councillor Knoxella.
Thank you. I think it's great that we have a community member looking to expand what they're offering our youth here in Tumbler Ridge. We've talked a lot at this table about how to capture youth, specifically that age, because there isn't a lot that we have to offer here in our community. So I'm in support of what they're asking. It's, I think, probably about 2 weeks extra of ice time. It's not a ton. So fully support.
Councillor Julik.
That was gonna be my question. When do we normally pull the ice, and do we see a huge cost to leaving the ice in?
Yeah, I'll get that from staff, but my thing is, you know, can ask if they know the approximate time pulling ice out, but to me, I think we need to be looking for a report for cost of leaving it in, what the cost is on our equipment and stuff like that, but that's just me, but we can find out when when it's supposed to come out. I believe it's the end of March. Ms. Torval?
Yes, I believe that is correct, the end of March, and that would be, that's as per policy.
Yeah. Go ahead, Councillor Gillick.
Yeah, like, I guess, I don't wanna hold this up for them, so and I know we don't always wanna fly by the seat of our pants. I'm kind of okay in this moment. I have to echo Councillor Noxana's, thoughts that we often are trying to capture those kids and keeping them busy and stuff. And I just think it would hopefully bring that sense of community back. Hockey, for whatever reason, seems to do that in Canada. The other bonus for me, or the other thought for me, is I believe we've done this in the past. I say we, not when I was on council, but I believe this is not the first time we've been asked to leave the ice in, or that the ice has been left in past the end of March, but I'm hoping we can make that decision without having to go back for a staff report.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'll give I 100% support this. I think it's great when we can get our youth involved and see if they have a uptick, to see if the youth want to get involved and play and be able to see if there's other people within the region that want to come forward and look at giving that. But to me, when previously, I believe the ice came out earlier and it was actually always asked to be extended, so that's why we moved it to the end of March. Now, don't hold me on the date, because I believe it's called end of March, but there's obviously a date, and staff, if they can't get that information right now, I get that. But my thing is, the reason I asked for a staff report, and I'm not saying to delay it, you know, don't want to put staff on a timeline, but I mean, we have a meeting next week, and I'm not sure how much of a report it would take, but that's up to them. But to me, there's a cost. Unbudgeted funds, is there any, you know, like, whether it's for staff timing, and it's not how much to flood it, but is there staff available? Are they prepared to already have some people? Like, I don't know. So that's why I understand that we all, you know, when people are supporting, want to just vote it through. But the problem when you don't get the information back from staff, and we make a decision, and all of a sudden we find out, well, we can't do that because we've already got the company coming in to shut the plant off. We can't reschedule to shut the plant off and all that. I don't know that. So I know when I was reached out by Monty Hendrickson, when he asked me about it, how it would work, I told him straight out, fill out a delegation, write a letter, come forward, let, you know, council debate it. And to me, I said it'd probably be a staff report, but I said that'll be up to council. So to me, I 100% support the concept of this. That's why my question to him was, would that hinder them starting a team if they couldn't get onto the ice? And his comments back to us were no. And I still support leaving the ice in, don't take me wrong. But to me, until I hear from staff on, again, I don't know if they've already pre-scheduled the plant shutdown, if they can be moved. I'm not sure how that works. That's not my forte. So, Councillor Julik.
Would you like a motion?
Discussion, I think, Councillor Dussault,
Okay.
and then we can come back, sorry. That's all good. Councillor Dussault?
Thank you, Mayor. I too also support, you know, this going forward, and thank you for bringing those questions forward, Mayor, because I also have the same questions. Also, the use of the Zamboni as well, does it go by hours, or is it when it is used? How do I ask this question? I guess like with most machinery, I guess with the operation, it usually goes by hours. Is that going to add extra hours onto the Zamboni, even though it may only be for one day? Yeah, I don't know how to present that correctly.
Yeah, I think you are. Is there a cost
Yeah,
to
is there a
have that
cost to it?
machinery?
So-
I mean, obviously, it's possibly going to be extended to 2 weeks or whatever that, again, I don't want to say it's the end of March. It's somewhere around there, and I think staff need to have, you know, let them have time to have the date. So we could be looking at extending it for 12 days or 13 days. They say the 12th works for them. But there is going to be obviously a cost to Zamboni because it's working extra a couple weeks. I mean, there's maintenance or whatever. But again, I think we all have those questions, and it's up to council. Either we approve it or we ask for reports so we have the information to actually properly approve it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's it. I don't have any more.
Any more discussion? Councillor Julik.
I would like to make a motion that we ask staff to prepare a report on additional costs if we were to leave the ice in longer, and I want to capture the staff part, like, and what that looks like for regular scheduled removal of the ice. Or will it cost, sorry. I'm not good at doing.
Yeah,
questions on the
that thing
fly.
is most of and I understand, that's why I wouldn't ask for a seconder, we can discuss it a little bit, change it a bit, word it differently if you want. So I mean, to me, yeah, you're looking for a staff report to come back in regards to the cost of leaving the ice in until April 12th of 2024. And to me, they'll capture the cost of, you know, again, maintenance, whatever it may be, including approximate refrigeration. And then we may hear that, well, we've already scheduled a shutdown and there's no way of changing that, but then at least we know that information. And there may be a way of changing it. So I think all you're doing is looking for a cost to extend the ice to April 12th.
I'm going to say April 15th, just because that was the possibility of the 15th is what he had. And I'm sure we can, like, if it's to the 15th, it's going to be less than it is if it's, or to the 12th if it's, I'm shutting up.
Put a date to it.
I'm going to say April 15th though, please.
Okay. Seconder, Councillor Hoffman. Just want to confirm that staff has captured it, just to make sure.
Yes.
Got it? Yep. Councillor Knoxana.
Thank you. I'm not opposed to asking for a staff report. I just don't want to hold up their planning for this ID camp. We've highlighted that youth activities are really high priority for us. I'm not sure if waiting for a report back is what I'm looking for. We've been willing to change dates before, put the ice in earlier and keep it open later for the whatever team that tried to start here. They had extra ice time. We've had it in earlier. So it is possible, I would assume then, to change these dates. I'm not sure why we wouldn't do it for our own minor hockey association.
Councillor Hoffman, then Councillor Juick.
Thank you, Mayor. I sense the general willingness to do this, but I just think it's part of the responsibility. If there's going to be thousands of dollars associated with delaying it for just a few weeks, we may, as a council, decide to go one way or the other on that. The question I really have is for staff on, not asking for a date, but can this be, of course, we're always going to ask this expedited so that we have a sense of the viability. Like if this is just something we can say that we can probably find out in the next couple of weeks, since that's what we're going to shut it down anyways. And we've got meetings coming up. So I'm supremely confident that we can get an answer relatively shortly on, at the very least, if this is viable or not.
Ms. Torval?
Thank you, Council. Yes, we can have a report for your next meeting on the 18th, regular council meeting, which is a week from today. Yes.
Thank you for that.
Yep.
I got Councillor Juick, then myself, then Councillor Knoxana.
I would agree with Councillor Knoxana so far as the money part. I don't think we would get, I don't feel like I would get any pushback from any resident. I think that it would be fully supported. But I did hear Mayor Kakauka's concerns in the maintenance schedule and all that stuff. And so I fully, I feel like it's more, I don't want to add to staff's burden by all of a sudden council just decide, well, we want this. It'd be nice if we could do that. But for me, that's why I'm willing to have it go out for a report. And I'm happy to hear Ms. Torville say that she figures it'll be good for next week, and I think that's a reasonable timeline.
Thank you. Yeah, my comments are again, financially, we don't know what it is. I mean, it's not that I don't support it, but I mean, to me, when we're making those decisions, we need to know what the financial implications are. Budget implications, unbudgeted funds. You know, it's when delegations come, staff don't read through their agenda and go, this may be something they're going to push through, so we better pre-do a report. I mean, hearing from staff, they're going to have a report in front of council for next week. It gives us the opportunity to have all the information in front of us to make the right decision. Again, I don't know. I know we have to schedule a plant startup. So I imagine we probably schedule a plant shutdown. So is that already been scheduled? Can the schedule be moved? Or if it is moved, there's a cost to it. So that's why to me it's proper to have the reports in front of us instead of just doing motions and voting off hoc for, and it's not that I don't support the youth of Tumbler Ridge. I think it's a great opportunity. I'm 100% support hockey and figure skating and all that. So to me, I just want to make sure it's done right. And that was no different than when they had the Steel Kings. There was lots of debating, the same as that. Ice was not put in earlier for the Steel Kings. It was put in at the exact same time as our normal motion was. Now, did they negotiate a different ice rate and stuff like that? Possibly, but I just think I need to have the right information before I'm ready to vote. Councillor Knox.
Thank you. Hearing from Ms. Torville that we can have a report next week, I'm absolutely happy to vote in favor of the motion on the floor. My biggest concern was staff time. If it wasn't able to come in a week, we're hooped, basically, for allowing this. So happy to vote in favor now.
Perfect. Any more discussion? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion carries. 6.2, Council Remuneration and Expense Amendment, Bylaw Number 735, 2024. Report dated March 11th, 2024, from Deputy Corporate Officer regarding Council Remuneration and Expense Amendment, Bylaw Number 735, 2024. Recommendation, Councillor Julich.
That council receives the report regarding council remuneration and expenses amendment, bylaw number 735, 2024 for discussion. And do
Seconder. Councillor Hoffman. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Julich, did you want to start?
Pushed my button again. I just want to thank staff for all the hard work that I know went into this. I thought it was a very thorough report, so thank you very much for that. I wish it made my choice easier. I have to be honest, I'm really looking forward to hear the conversations around the table to see how everybody else is thinking. I've realized it's easier to make a decision on somebody else's salary than it is my own. And so I'd like to say thanks very much, because you guys gave us a lot of options, but I'd definitely like to hear from other folks and see where they're sitting with it all.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I made a comment, and to me, I don't think we need a staff overview at all of the report. I want to thank staff very much for the report that they put together and all the explaining into it, like reading it and understanding it, and talking about UBCM best practices. So, it's being straightforward and out there. And, Councillor Julich, you mentioned it, like, it's easy enough to give, whether it's union negotiations or exempt staff, it's a lot easier. But, I've attended a lot of things in the last year, and, it usually comes up quite often that the hardest decision for any council to do is to give themselves a raise. And I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that comment. I don't disagree with the thought process. The same aspect for the time and commitment that, to me, members of council do, whether it's in our own community, which is huge, but the amount of commitment that we all give, but not just here, but elsewhere. Sometimes it needs to be, it's going to be a hard decision you're going to make, either support it, don't support it, and move on. I'll be honest with you, this was supposed to be, wage increases were supposed to be done before the election. There was, on council side, I think it took us a long time to get it forward in front of staff, and by the time staff received it, there was some, people are on holidays, it's summertime, we're trying to push it through, and, it was different. So, to me, you always try to do that before, I won't say always before an election, but definitely makes it easier than when a new council's elected and you're sitting here talking about your wage increases and what you should do, and should you give yourself one, and should you not. I think I'm going to be straightforward with council. I think I've been fairly straightforward when this report was asked for. I am not looking for an increase for myself. 100% will not support an increase for myself. And it's not because I don't think I deserve it. I actually think that right now we have such a gap between councillor and the mayor. That's my reasoning for those comments, and I think I said that right at the beginning when we talked about sending this back to staff to get the report built and stuff like that. Like when I seen I was unaware what the mayor made, and I was on council for 2 terms, so I'll tell you right now, I don't look at that. But when we see the gap, to me, for the mayor's position at 31,000 or something, I call it, just rough it up to 32. I believe you guys are just over 14. I think that's a fairly large gap for when I look at what we all do as individuals on council. Like, sure, myself, like I mentioned earlier, I attend a BC Hydro meeting in town, or Canoe Coal, or meet with a local business or whatever. To me, that's, no different than when council, you guys all go to these liaisons, whether it's the Geopark, the museum, library board, Chamber of Commerce, Health Task Force, all those. That's why I think there's a gap there. And I mean, I don't, I have a number in my head for to debate later. But I think we've got it up for discussion. I think another thing that we should be discussing, and I think staff put it together, and that's in regards to some of the municipalities that offer benefits. I think that's a discussion to be had and discussed and talked about what council thinks. Yeah, it's a tough scenario to do when you're the elected official and it's your decision to make and then be able to answer to it. But to me, all we have to do is be the reasoning why. My understanding, and staff, please correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding, if I'm driving in regards to, as a mayor going to a conference for the district of Tumbler Ridge and something happens to me on the way in my vehicle, I have no coverage, is my understanding. Am I incorrect?
Mayor, if you take your own vehicle, is that what you're saying?
Nope, take the district.
District vehicle? I'm not 100% sure on that one. I thought you were covered, but I'm not sure.
Okay, so there might be something under, would it be, I'm gonna call WCB then? Or how's that covered? Because there's nothing, like, my understanding from the report, we have no benefits whatsoever from
No benefits?
mayor and council.
Okay, I'm not clear on that.
Okay?
If you could
that's
just ask the
fine.
question again for clarification.
So I'm just saying, like, if something was to happen to myself driving, representing the community of Tumbler Ridge, whether it's a conference or a meeting, if something was to happen on the highway, whatever it may be, I don't usually talk like that because then I have dreams all day
Okay,
long.
okay, gotcha.
Is there coverage for anybody that's on either the mayor or councillor?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so that is my huge concern when I look, I mean, when I have a family, I know most people sit around here have families, and if not, you have adult families. I mean, your daughters or sons might be adults, but some of us have young children, and this isn't just this council. I think, sometimes it got missed previously, and I'm not at all time blaming or staff, but when we've always asked in regards to doing enumeration outlooks, reports, go around and check all these communities, blah, blah, blah. I don't think we gave clear enough direction to staff to say, when you contact that municipality, do they do benefits for the mayor and their councillors? So that was one of the questions that were asked this time in the report to make sure we'd done it. Because when I sit on the PRD and find out how many communities within the Peace region actually give full benefits to their mayor and council. You can opt in, you can opt out, you don't have to do it. Chetwynd, I believe, is an opt in and opt out, I believe.
Kevin's not on here.
Okay, Chetwynd, so, that's fine. They reached out to whoever they could and stuff, but that's why, that was one of the things I asked for in the report. And again, it's a hard decision to make, but to me, it's worth a debate. Okay, Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to say Schedule A Council Remuneration Benefits Comparison. This is exceptional. This is excellently laid out information. This was fantastic. So I very much appreciate that. Echo the mayor a little bit here. I have a real hard time voting for a increase in remuneration for council or mayor approaching halfway through the term. I'd much rather revisit that at the end of the cycle rather than in the middle. And I'm willing to also have the debate, but I'm even for extended health and dental and benefits. Changing the sort of rules of the game midway through is just, my inclination is against it, but I'm more than happy to listen and consider. But for now, I'd rather have this discussion 2 years from now than right now. Thanks.
Yeah, and I fully understand that. And like I said, the previous council was supposed to have this gone through, and I think it's, at some points, you got to make a decision. Councillor Jillick.
And I can understand your hesitancy, Councillor Hoffman. I guess for me, when I look at option one and they show that there hasn't been a change since 2019, I also know that generally there's a CPI increase generally, which we haven't done. I think the part of me that is looking at option two, like I'm more in favor of option two, like to go from 14,161 for council right up to 16,600 seems like a pretty big jump to me. I'm not completely against it, just looking at the increase other than the 6.9 increase there in 2023. I think that it's important that this role is attractive for all walks of life. I also agree that we need to put a value on the work that we do, and I think that's where Mayor Kakauka is coming from, that there's a value. I think that when the salaries go up, I think you as a It'd be like you as an employee recognize that value and realize the level that you are expected to work at. I look at the extra costs of the extended health benefits, and I wonder about that. It seems like a lot, like even for singles to go, so the extended health for families is $179, and dental is less than the extended health. I'm thinking the insurance coverage for life, short-term, long-term disability, I feel like that's what the mayor's looking for, not so much the dental and the extended benefits. The short-term and long-term disability, that's a little bit tougher to get out on your own when you go to look for insurance someplace else. And it tends to be the lower, in my experience with extended benefits. That seems to be a lower cost on the end of stuff. So for me right now, I'm interested in hearing what the mayor has in thought. It sounds like he's got a little bit more information because he's a little bit more familiar on the PRRD side. I would not be supporting the extended benefits. I would support short and long-term disability and life, depending on what that looks like. If staff was able to give us a little bit of an approximation, if I am in fact correct in that it's usually less money than extended health. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. I would definitely do the increase now simply because I think, like Mayor Kakauka says, like at some point it's just got to be done, and this hasn't been done since 2019, and that's a ways.
Councillor Noxana.
Thank you. I'm going to agree that there is a value for our time. But when you monetize a position too much, it then becomes about the money and not about the work people want to put into the role. We all knew the remuneration, sorry, that's a big word, before we ran for this position. So I think, well, a small increase may not be the worst thing. Increasing too much is not something I'm going to be in favor of. As for disability insurance, life insurance, extended benefits, these are part-time positions. We're all adults. If you don't have life insurance, that is a conversation we can have offline. However, to expect those sort of benefits in a part-time position, also not something I'm in favor of.
Any other discussion? So I'm just gonna make a couple comments, and I understand the feelings in regards to extended health or whatever it may be. I look at other municipalities this is just within the Peace region. City of Fort St. John, yes to extended health and dental benefits, yes to District of Taylor. Village of Pooskoopi, yes. I know they didn't reach out to Chetwynd, but I believe when I talked to the mayor there, it was an opt-in and an opt-out scenario there. Could 100% confirm that, but that's how I look at that. I think you know, whether there was a step messed years ago by the district of Tumbler Ridge or not, I'm not sure. But to me, it seems like there may have been, and I'm not sure if I'm really thinking about the extended health or the dental, but to me, when we talk in regards to short and long term, I think it might be a little bit different. When I'm, you know, to me, an advocate of the district of Tumbler Ridge as the mayor, I do a lot of jobs and duties as the mayor. I travel a ton on our local highways or other highways within the province. And I'm a fairly young man at 51. And then I look at my fellows, councillors that sit here as well. And to me, when you have young families, and yeah, we can have my own life insurance, councillor. There's no question about it. But sometimes when it's, they can bring it back that you were at work, which this is work. Could be a different story when you look into your life insurance. And sometimes it might be worth looking into that, especially when it comes to disabilities. If you're in an accident, you know, and obviously you survive it, but you're paralyzed. I have a business that would take me out of my business. I mean, other people are retired and enjoying life. That could take that. And I'm sorry, I think that's I'd like to know the cost, and it's not there, and I don't think, I'm not prepared to make a decision on, especially on the healthcare. I mean, I'll be honest, the benefits and stuff like that, that came, it was a miss in the report, I'll be honest, it was a miss in the report. Staff was able to grapple some information in a very short time and get it out to council. So before your agenda was printed, they had all the information or whatever. So I think, to me, it'd be fair, we need to give some more opportunity for staff to build just a bit more research on that part of it. When we talk about wage increases, and I don't disagree with you, Councillor Knox, when you talk about it, you know, you're here and it's not like, do you overpay and blah, and I understand your feelings there too. And I'll keep refraining what I've talked about in regards to that this is supposed to be done in pre-election. And I know previous council, the previous mayor was constant about wage increase. You know, and I'll be honest, I didn't even know what the mayor made, didn't pay attention, because I don't know, everybody has a different walk of life. But when I see what I make and what I see what my council makes, I don't think it's fair. I 100% do not think that's fair. I know what I attend for meetings, I know what you guys attend for meetings. I don't think the districts, the taxpayer is paying our council appropriately. I believe the mayor is paid appropriately. Maybe a little high, but appropriate. I mean, I'll be honest, I mean, there's some days I feel like I'm a full-time mayor in a quarter-time job. So I'll be honest, I'm actually looking at option one for council. Yeah, it's not a huge increase when you look at it. It's $2,000 per councillor. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not prepared to do that until we have a budget discussion, because I want to know what the implications are. So to me, I'm like, I mean, this is a good thing about a PMP. It can be brought forward, talked about, sent back to staff. You know, we have budget specialists in town hall. They can look at what those implications would be. Oh, it's, you know, 0.113 of a thousand paid for the tax base for that. I don't know what it is, but to me, that's what I'm looking at. I think when I see the big difference, and maybe you guys don't feel the same way as I do. Maybe I'm just taking it to heart and I'll just leave it be. But to me, I think it's called being fair. When I look at the two on different wages, and that's the only reason I spoke that I would not be looking for an increase, because I do. I think maybe you feel the same way, but I think there's like the gap needs to become less of a gap eventually. And if we don't want to do it now, then we do it later. But like I said, I think the discussion needs to be had about the benefits. And to me, I think staff needs to look into it to make sure maybe we do have some kind of coverage when we're traveling. And I see a head shake, so I'll go to staff because they were able to research it. And again, this is an off-the-hop question that, you know, you start debating and ask questions, so staff is able to research it. So, Ms. Torval?
Yes, thank you, Council. Sorry, in your current council remuneration bylaw, if you go to page 21 in your agenda, item number 4, it says that the district shall provide for payment of the whole of the premium in respect of an accident insurance policy, insuring the members of council on a group insurance basis against accidents while on official business for the municipality. Now, I don't know if that includes, I don't think that would be death and those other things, but there is an insurance policy while you are conducting business on behalf of the municipality.
Okay, that's good information. I'd like to know what that is. It'd be nice to know that it's based off our district wages. Well, it'd be, it's to have all the information right out in front of us so we can make a true and right decision on it. I'm going to go to Councillor Julik and then Councillor Noxana.
To Councillor Noxana's point, I get the life insurance part, but I would probably argue with you just because I like to, but that short and long-term disability, I don't think are easy to come by. And that's the thing for me, that it's not as easy to come by. And to Mayor Kakauka's point, when you spend as much time on the road, statistically, you're more inclined to maybe have an oops somewhere. I think, I just hope I'm clear on the point that it's, for me, this isn't necessarily for me. This is us making a decision moving forward, because to me, if we make this decision today, we're making a decision that this increase will happen every year so that other councils don't have to make that decision when they're heading out, because they don't want to make the decision everybody, if nobody likes to see council get an increase, because what could you possibly do that needs that much money? And I say that tongue in cheek because I also know that people realize that there's work to do in this job. I think that it's important that it's not about, I knew what it was when I came into the job. It's about making sure that this job is valued, whether it's, money right now seems to be the best way to value things. I absolutely understand your point in that I knew, and I'm not changing the type of work I do if I get paid more, but it might change somebody's opinion about coming into this role at the next election because, oh, I can take an hour off work to come in, or I can take that time off on holidays because I'm getting paid this remuneration. So for me, it's not just about this dollar amount in this day for my term. It's about looking forward to other councils. We did not have a lot of people come out for this council, and that can get scary. So do I think it's all about the money? No. Do I think it will make it easier for some people to do that job when they also have a full-time job otherwise? Yeah, I'm really fortunate that I can do this job because I have a business. That's not true for everybody though. So, and even Mayor Kakauka, how he manages to do all the work that he does and have a full-time job, it's, I'm gonna say because of Debbie. But thanks.
Councillor Noxana, then Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you. I would like to caution us not to make a decision on benefits based on the fact that the city of Fort St. John offers them. When I look that their mayor makes almost $90,000 a year, that's a full-time job. Their council makes $32,000 a year. You could argue that's a half-time job or something, whereas ours is a small fraction of that. And just based on their city size, I would venture a guess that there is more work involved in that.
So just before we go to Councillor Hoffman, I know we use Fort St. John, but maybe just have a look at Poughkeepsie. I'm not sure if you didn't mention that on purpose, but population base is 762 people. Council rumination is 10,500. The mayor is 21,000, and it's a yes for benefits. Insurance, extended health, dental benefits, yes. And if you go through your, if you go into your report, it actually states to get the same kind of benefits as they're exempt and non-exempt staffed. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. And I want to acknowledge Councillor Julick's point, having 7 people apply for 6 positions. Guess I should be glad that they did, if I'm glad to be here, but that's besides the point. That is a problem. I think that's something we should address. So something different than I said before. Looking at the UBCM best practices, I would be more than happy to build something based around those. And whether that happens before the end of the term or not, I could get behind that if it's near the tail end. And my other comment is for the mayor. Having served on both, I appreciate the fact that you value us more than we seem to value ourselves. But looking at the breakdown, are you suggesting a 2-to-1 ratio on between mayor and council as a good baseline going forward, or what are you generally thinking when you say that? Because I wouldn't mind addressing that as well, whether it's 60%, 40%, 50%, like whatever the ratio is. Because if we do put in best practices, all of a sudden this doesn't get looked at as often because it is going to grow based on the CPI or cost of living adjustment, whatever baseline that we're using. And having that go forward indefinitely, I wouldn't mind solving this problem for future councils as well. Just that's where we're at, and until we significantly grow as a town, this is what we're doing for council. So with those two things, I don't think we're arguing on option 1 or option 2 today. There's just too many open things that we're still going to have questions on. But if council is generally in favor of sort of taking this project and extending it out and building on UBCM best practices and having a deeper discussion once we have numbers on extended insurance benefits or disability or whatever, life, whatever we want to add, I am actually open to that one. I think that's a very reasonable point to say when we're out on town business to be covered with the same insurance as anybody else that would be covered on town business. I'm actually open to that one. But I think this is a great start with less information, but I think we need a bit more, and I think we need to decide amongst ourselves what we really want to see as this is the remuneration package for council and mayor going forward. And we should advertise it, because I actually didn't know it was remunerated at all when I applied. It was sort of my idea that I was going to do volunteer work for the town, and then I found out I'm not volunteering. So all good.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I asked the question. I don't know what the gap would be, and that's why I stated that I support option one for council. And that's a, couple $1,000 increase at this point. But then I think going forward, we need to deal with the CPI yearly. And if you look at the reports, and it's all out there, all the other communities are already doing it. It's something we've missed, and, I was on council for 8 years, so I'll take a hit. It's, sometimes you don't think about it. You get into other debates of should we increase our wages or shouldn't we, because we didn't do it before the election. And, and I understand. It's not that it's you guys that I'm talking about when we talk about value. It's the value of the position. That's what I'm discussing. I'm not discussing like whether it's a Councillor Julick, a Councillor DeSilva, or a Councillor Noxana. It's the position that should be valued. And if I made different comments that, we should give you guys a raise because I value you. No, I value that position. So there you go. Okay. I just want to make sure I didn't miscommunicate that I was looking at just because it's because of what 6 councillors are sitting here. That's who we value. It's not. It's the position. And I think, over time, for whatever happened, I mean, I look at it here, and 2019 for stages in the option one, what the increases should have been, as per the CPI. And that's fine. I'm not like I just think going forward we need to include the CPI moving forward in a policy. But I also think we need to look at, I mean, personally, I understand, but to value the position, not the person, moving forward, there needs to be an increase to me on that councillor value. And I understand it's tough. If it's easier that if I build a number and have staff put it in a report and bring it forward to you instead of debating it, if that makes it easier on council, I'm fully willing to do that. I just think, to me, I'm looking at, actually, I'll be honest with you, a 2-year increase beyond CPI for council. So to me, I'm prepared to put a motion on the floor that we increase council to 16,673.10 today. But that's not a motion. I'm prepared to. And next year, it's in the same motion that we would increase by $1,000 on the council side, also with the CPI included in 2025. And I believe that gap, so whatever that percent is, I'm just throwing numbers out through my head because I looked at it. I've talked to Ms. Torval many times about this as an intern CEO and stuff like that, and how I would bring it forward to council. Because I thought there was a gap there. And, maybe being a new mayor, maybe I'm wrong. And I never did reach out to the other existing mayors that, whether it was Mayor McPherson or Keith Bertrand, the mayor there, or anything. But talking with the other mayors, and you can see them all right here. You can't see them all. You only see certain communities. So there's $10,500 difference between Pouce Coupe. You have 762 people, and they say yes for extended health and dental benefits. Population of Taylor, 1,317. Council's 11,000, the mayor's 26,000. A little bit different there, like they're about $15,000 difference. But really and truly they're not, they're about 14,000 and some change. But they're yes for insurance, extended health and dental benefits. So I just look at that. I look at those kind of, I wish Chetwynd was here, and I believe Chetwynd was, when I went through the thing, there was a Chetwynd in here, I thought. And it might be previous ones that I've been looking at, because I've been going back and forth 15 times into different reports, because I try to use, we try to use other communities.
That was just me Googling.
Yeah, I think I've seen it somewhere. Is that, maybe I've seen it, I did see it somewhere. Thank you. Yeah, 2,300 in Chetwynd, 13,500 and 38,000. Yeah, that's their choice. I think there's a bit of a gap there, and they obviously have the benefits as well. So I think it's a step previous councils have made. You want a backstory?
No, I just want to see it.
So again, I don't know how council wants to handle it, and I know it's tough, but it's not the person we're giving a raise to, it's the position. It's the position. Because the position's of value. And this is a great meeting to have, in my opinion, anything at a PNP when we have these kind of debates. If our constituents do not agree with my comments in regards to, this is what we should do with this, the value for a council position, I'll hear about it tomorrow. I remember previously, and the reason I say that, I remember previously when we talked about, I know it's a hot topic, but passes. And we actually talked about it at that point about mayor and council, as well as staff. We just it was thrown out at a PMP, let's vote it, let's get staff getting a report together to find out the amount. Let me tell you, the next day I heard about staff, and there's no disrespect to staff, but they looked at, they get the healthy living allowance and stuff like that, and council wasn't getting that, so it didn't seem as bad, but you hear about it. So I mean, like, to me, instead of just approving something here, this gives, you know, I have nothing to hide, and my thing, it gives residents a chance to come back to us and stuff, but I'll be honest, I was at the EBCM, I attended multiple meetings that were not minister meetings, but just with, I'm trying to think some of the company names, I can't even remember it. They ended up taking us for supper anyways. And that was one of the topics that was raised by 6 out of 9 mayors, was how not friendly, but how I can't remember the terminology, but to give yourselves, to give those positions increases, whether it's a mayor's position or the councilor's position. And how that tough, but to me, we missed it in previous council, and I was sad on that, we missed it. It was brought in too late, and I think it is time that we look at it. I do think we need some more clarity from staff side, just to, you know, fluff out some of the benefits and see what we're covered for when we're traveling and stuff. And to me, that all that does there is protects our families and stuff like that. And I think that's important. So, Councillor Julik and then Councillor Noxano.
So a couple things in regards to that. I think for me, looking at the report here, they have given us a financial impact if we were to go with option 1. And it would be lower because it sounds like the mayor is going to say he doesn't want an increase. And whether or not we do that, even with his increase, even if there was an increase for him to 37, councillors to 16, the total financial impact in a year is $15,619. We also need to talk about the cell phone within this one. I'm willing to make a motion because I would agree that it's not, I hear it across the sector and not at the provincial and federal levels, but at the grassroots, municipality, school districts, that kind of level. Nobody wants to give themselves a raise because they don't want to, and I think it's for a multitude of reasons. And for me, this is my 6th year in public service, and I will say that for me it is about trying to get inclusivity within these seats, that it's not just a seat that people who don't work 9 to 5 can fill and that kind of thing. And for me, that's where I see the biggest impact is if you can get somebody to watch your kids so you can do a meeting, if you can't get somebody to pick up your kids because you got to be at a meeting, like all those different pieces for me is why I think we need to be reasonable within this policy. And I would, instead of doing $1,000, I like here that there are communities that do a CPI index up to 3% or up to 4%. Like, so I see Peace River Norwegian did, PRD only goes to a maximum of 4%. And I would be interested in looking at something like that, maxing that out. The year that we had really big inflation, I think the index went huge, right? 6.9. So I don't know that that's necessarily reasonable, but I think it again points out that why us doing this job, should we not get a cost of living increase when every other sector is doing it? and if that $15,000 number was even larger, and that's, you know, yeah, I'm going to be in favor of the increase simply for those reasons. I just think that we're there and somebody's got to do it.
Councillor Noxana, then the mayor.
Thank you. I was going to echo the same thing. If you're looking at cost of living increases or CPI percents, there needs to be a max number. Just for future planning, you need to know that max percentage.
Okay, thank you for that. I think Councillor Noxana and Councillor Julik must have been looking at my motion I wrote out in the paperwork here because they talk about a max actually. So I'm going to put a motion on the floor that staff looks at the implications for the budget for TR Council's wages to be moved to $16,673.10 in 2024. And that in 2025, council wages are increased by another $1,000 plus the CPI to a maximum of 4% CPI. for all 7 positions. CPI, the CPI max is for all 7. CPI max for all 7, yeah. Staff capture that, you want me to email it later? Okay.
If the CPI goes to 22%.
Get a seconder and then we'll debate. Seconder, Councillor Julik. No, that's fine. Councillor Clickash.
It's happened in the past that it's gone to 21, 22%. So what do you do then when you got a maximum of 4?
Then you only get a max.
They might not be able to afford the gas to get to the meeting. So,
Yeah, I put a max there because, I mean, other people have less maxes. Some people have max of 4%, some have max of this and that, so I thought 4% was a good average. I mean, if we don't like the max 4%, we could do an amendment. I did a max so that if it does go up to like this 9.6 or the 6.9s or 7.9s, we're being responsible with taxpayer money in my mind, but we can make an amendment, Councillor Clickash, if you just don't want to have a max.
this is not gonna affect me a bit, so just go ahead.
Debate me.
I'm good.
Okay. Councillor Hoffman, then Councillor Noxana.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to answer Councillor Clickash's question, you have another meeting and you have a discussion on councils giving themselves a raise based on the 22% inflation of that year. I mean, this is not etched in stone. Future councils can change what we do here today. You guys moved me some, but not far enough to support the motion. I think we need a more comprehensive thing going on here before I'm prepared to say yes or no to any of this. I do appreciate the sentiment, but what I would like to see is that we fix our ratio, if you will, mayor to council. We decide whether or not we're going to do the extended health or insurance or whatever, all the other options that we're looking at here. I'm not prepared to vote for a raise today. But I don't think there's anything unreasonable. I'm closer than I was before, but I think we need to do more. Thank you.
Yeah, just before I go to Councillor Noxana, I'll just be honest, it's actually not voting an increase. We're actually sending it back to staff to get the budget implications before this decision even is getting made. So, we can still debate it then when we realize there's an increase that maybe we're not comfortable with that increase. That's why I asked for the budget implications by taking myself out, because I don't think that position, there's value there, but I think that position is paid for the value that it gives. Or I don't know how to word that, but it's not that, I don't need one. The position, I don't care about me, it's the mayor's position right now, I believe is paid adequately at that role. So that's why I only did council, but it's actually just get the budget implication numbers back from staff. Councillor Hoffman, I'll let you go, let's go back.
Thank you. My mind had skipped to the end already, but no, that's fine. I don't have any problem with that. We can change the numbers when we're looking at it for the budget implications at that point anyways. So no, that's fine to send it back to staff.
Thank you. Councillor Noxana.
Thank you. I'm not in favor of the motion on the floor. I think monetizing the position beyond what it is now just opens us up for issues down the road.
Thank you. Councillor Julik.
I would say that we already have something here, so I guess I was kind of interested in what Councillor Hoffman, what more he was looking for. The dollar amount actually here is listed. It would be less than $15,619.07 because the mayor is saying that he is not in favor of the $37,000. That's why he's sending it to staff. I would say I appreciate his frankness with it all. Because I don't believe he's doing it so he can say, oh, look at them councillors, they're being greedy and I'm not. If he could find a different way to poke at me, I'm sure he would, but I don't think that this is the time. So I appreciate that. The other part for me, I've given all the reasons why I am in favor of this increase. The part I am not in favor of extended benefits, so I don't know, that's not anything you've asked for at this point. And I would only be in favor of the disability only because I've found it impossible to find a coverage for disability. And when Mayor Kakauka talked about the time he spent on the road, that actually tends to be a bigger, I think, a burden if you were to be in an accident. But beyond that, I'm in favor of the motion. Yeah.
Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to answer Councillor Julik, I would like to set the ratio and the maxes and all that based on something more than 1,000 here and based on the CPI for last year and all that. That's where it came from, but that's also when we do get the budgetary implications for everything, then we can sort that out with 1% here or 1,000 there. We could just see those numbers. So I appreciate the 19,000. The one I'm more worried about, honestly, is the life insurance and disability insurances on what the implications and costs and what we're really saying we want to do with that. Because I think it's absolutely reasonable that if we're doing council or town business, that we are covered for those for that sort of travel and that. In fact, I would have been prepared to say yes as long as we had a reasonable number on it today for that one, because I can't justify not on that one. So for me, I would like this set up nicely so that for the next 10 years or 20 years or whatever, that it is done. Because for myself, I don't have a problem voting something that's reasonable. I don't have somebody, I can look somebody in the face and say, we voted for an 8,000 increase on council based on this. And I don't see that, but if that's what was there, I don't have a problem doing that. But I just really want to see it laid out, and I think that this motion, I'm not voting for the increase, I'm voting for seeing what the impact of the increase is, and I'm actually okay with that for today. So hopefully that clears up what you were wondering.
Thank you for that. And I'll be honest with you, like, I know you're looking for that breakdown, and I think staff will be able to do that. They'll be able to just give an assumption on what would have been done. So to me, I put those increases in to get the budget implications back. The plus CPI max 4% would be going forward until the council decides to change that. So to me, it would always be, I won't say sad, but after 2025, to me, once we get the budget implications, we have that debate. It's $1,000 for that year, plus the CPI, because we're gonna miss CPI this year. CPI then, and then in 2026, it would be just CPI for 7 of us. So the mayor would start doing the increase on that position on the CPI. That's what I was looking for. So, okay, any more debate? Okay, I'm gonna call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Noxana is opposed and Councillor Clickash is opposed. Motion carries. Okay, my other motion is gonna be that we send the extended health and dental benefits and short-term and long-term disability scenarios back to staff to get clearer information in regards to cost on just the short-term and long-term compared to extended health and dental. Take a seconder on that. Councillor Julik, discussion. Councillor Noxana.
Thank you. My comments are the same as before. We're in a very small percentage position. I can't even call it half-time position. I feel like we're all adults. If we want life insurance, we should have life insurance and we should go get that ourselves. All the other benefits, absolutely something we can go look at ourselves as well.
Yep, thank you for your comments. I totally don't disagree, but when we talk about the policy that the council made me aware of in page 21, what is it? To me, that's the information I'm looking for when I ask for more clarity in regards to the benefits. Is when we have a policy that states that we get it. The district of Tumbler Ridge shall provide a payment of a whole of the premium in respect of an accident insurance policy, ensuring the members of council on a group insurance basis against accidents while in official business for the municipality. Do we even have it? Is the coverage even there? Maybe it was a misstep. What does that mean? That's all I'm looking for. And I understand your thoughts, but to me, I think we just need to get the clear information so we know. That's I'm very concerned when I seen that. So, any more discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Noxana is opposed. Motion carries. Councillor Julik.
I just wanted to talk about the cell phone that's also in this policy. It's number 3 there on page 15 of our agenda. It's inclusive of taxes, the total cost of $3,600 for the year if all councillors opt in. So I would like to make a motion that we accept that cell phones would be provided for all of councils with an opt-in choice.
I think it's already policy. Did we already vote on that?
Nope.
No? Okay. Thank you. No, good. I just want to make sure. Seconder, before I get a seconder. Seconder on that. Councillor Dussault. Discussion. Councillor Noxana?
Would this policy mean that we have to use the district cell phone plan, or could we still do the reimbursement for our own devices?
Ms. Torval?
It's an opt-in, opt-out option for the cell phone plans. I don't know about if you keep it in the, because I believe it is in your remuneration bylaw or in your council expense policy that you have up to $525 in data usage you could claim. So that's still there, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion? Councillor Julik?
I was just gonna say, yeah, I was reading in the report, the 525 will stay there for the folks that decide to opt out of the cell phone plan, is what I read in the report. And I've always been a proponent of this. It goes back to, I don't think you should have to spend your own money to do the job. I thought it was fairly reasonable, at like $3,600 a year, because the district's already got such a huge plan out there. Believe me, I don't like carrying an extra phone, but I also recognize the privacy, the FOIPA stuff that falls within that. So that's why I'm a big proponent of having this option.
Okay, so just get clarity, that's this option 3 that we're talking about regards to cell phone, that is a district phone on a district plan.
Yes.
The phone is returned after.
Yes, yes.
So I want to make sure. And if they opt into this one, they don't get the other one? Right? It's one or the other?
One or
Okay.
the other, yeah.
Okay, so I want to make sure. Councillor Clickash?
Is that taxable, that 3,600?
I'm not aware if it's a benefit. Ms. Torval?
It's a benefit, so I'm guessing it would be a taxable benefit, yes.
Sorry?
Just how I read in the report, I didn't think it was. It's an expense that I don't imagine it's a taxable benefit for any other staff of the district, so I don't imagine it would be for us.
We could get clarification.
Okay, well then, to me, I'm prepared to put a motion on the floor to defer that before I'm ready to support it. Because it could make a difference in how we were to put it, right? Because if you have to pay tax on it, and then you're, right? That's it, that would be just my opinion. Like, to me, I'll be honest, I already have a mayor phone that's supplied by the district of Tumbler Ridge. It's for direct use for my position, but I think that needs to be, I mean, if I'm paying taxes, but it might make you not opt into this plan. It might be able to, where you submit it for your, on the other side, so you don't have to pay taxes, right? So I'm gonna put a motion that we defer until staff can get the information. Second on the deferral. Councillor Noxana. Discussion on the deferral? Okay, call the question on the deferral. All in favor? Carried. Anything else from there? Again, I just want to thank staff. Like, great information. There wasn't many questions. Obviously, there's some ad hoc questions as you get into debate, but pretty straightforward, so. Thank you very much for that. Okay, moving on to 6.3, EO5- Council Expense Policy Review, report dated March 11th, 2024, from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding EO5- Council Expense Policy Review. Recommendation, please. Councillor Noxana.
That council receives the EO5 council expense policy for review for discussion.
Seconder, Councillor Julik. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Noxana.
Thank you. I'm wondering about the tax implications of increasing our meal allowance. I know our chief financial officer, CFO officer, had said that we were already claiming what CRA allowed us to claim. So does this mean CRA's rates have gone up? Because these rates are higher than what's in our policy.
Yeah, I believe, understanding that, let staff speak to it, but that's where some of the numbers have changed in regards to the consumer increases. But Ms. Torval?
Yeah, so these are the newest numbers from CRA, the latest updated numbers.
Thank you.
Follow-up?
Follow-up. I would be in favor of just following the CRA rate. It's easier than changing our policy every time there's increases or decreases. And it ensures that council, and then hopefully it transfers over to staff as well, are not out of pocket for expenses that they're incurring on behalf of the district.
Yeah, and I'll just make a comment there. Whatever we decide in regards to moving forward on amounts for meals, it moves right over to staff, is my understanding on exempt side. I'm not sure about union side, but exempt staff would follow this policy, I believe. Ms. Torval?
So, staff, there is a separate policy for staff, and it would follow pretty much closely the same. There are some differences, but yeah, it's pretty much the same, especially when it comes to the meal allowances.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Julik?
I think I'm just really surprised that it's a 46%. Like, for me, I look at $60 for dinner. Like, I'm not having steak and wine, and even if I was, it wouldn't matter because you wouldn't know because I'm not giving you a receipt. It just seems high. I'm surprised CRA. Maybe that's why we need to have new. Sorry, I'm obviously getting. I don't know what the word is. Anyways, I feel like it's a little high, and even the incidental allowance, I would be in favor. Like, to me, it's my choice whether or not I do a tip or not, and I make that choice based on what I know I'm getting paid for the day. If I could have it confirmed for me, when I get paid the $100, that's for doing business out of town. That is not my meal rate. That is not, the $100 is?
No.
Okay, so the $100 is because that's basically a wage for being out of town on business for more than 4 hours. And then I'm also allowed an amount for meals if it's not covered in the conference and stuff that I'm at. Okay,
Correct.
cool. I think this is a little high. I don't know where I would land on the numbers. I agree with Councillor Oksana. It's nice to be able to have something standard to go by. I would be interested in knowing what UBCM is. I know in my other role, we align our expenses on per diem for meals based on our organization, like our association. So I don't know if UBCM has a total, and maybe it's in here and I just didn't see it. So I apologize.
Yeah, so just before I go to Councillor Hoffman, I don't think UBCM has a total, but it talks about the UBCM best practices. Right, it just says local governments should consider including in their expense policies and or bylaws the principle that elected officials should not themselves be expected to pay expenses that are incurred in order to perform their roles. Local governments should ensure the list of eligible expenses reflect unique local conditions. Conditions. Local government should re-examine decisions on eligibility to ensure the list of eligible expenses involved to reflect changing needs and to reduce barriers to participation. So, I think that's where, we just talked about in the previous one, something that was missed since 2019. And that put us in that position. And now, to me, we're in the same position here. Right? We talk about whether it's staff. So, my understanding when we had this discussion before is that we wanted it to mirror with the staffs, so that it was the same concept when we talk about meals and stuff. So, for me to eat in Fort St. John, Dawson Creek, Grand Prairie, probably pretty much the same prices. When I go to Vancouver, not so much. When I go to Toronto, totally not so much, right? So I think that's where they use that overhead thing, and this is where CRA comes out with a chart, because they're averaging it out through through Canada. Right, so they're probably taking their highest, their lowest, and mediums, and going, okay, can't be the lowest, can't be the medium. So we'll take some of the highest, take the medium, and meet them in the middle. I don't know how they come up with it, but I think they're doing it to show that there's no cost to the person. Councillor Hoffman, then Councillor Clickash.
Thank you, Mayor. I generally don't like making other subcategories, but creating an urban center rate seems to be a way to solve both problems of Councillor Julik's, the number 60 being pretty high. And it's just it, if you're in Vancouver or Toronto, it's all of a sudden not. Like, somebody can try and max out their meals. I just don't know if that's just the type of person. Like, I'm not going for steak and wine every night just because I can. But my initial reaction is I don't like having a second category, but it might be a really appropriate here that you designate the major centers or a center over 1 million people or whatever the lines are being drawn, where you have that 40% higher number, and that for the rest, since most of our business will be within this little corridor of Dawson or Fort St. John, but there are those trips. And the big stuff is going to be in the bigger cities, and I very much don't want, we were talking about earlier, I don't want somebody who's retired and is willing to serve to think about terms of, am I going to have to pay out of pocket to be sitting on this council? So, gotta say, that's kind of where my mind's at. I don't know where anybody else is, but I would be happy to set the CRA rate perhaps for the urban centers and just leave it there, and then minus 40% for the rest. In fact, if I'd like a little discussion on that, that's kind of where my motion would be at, unless somebody has a better idea.
Thank you. Councillor Klickiss and Councillor Julich.
Yes, the CRA rate is the maximum amount they'll allow for meals on a given day for a company, okay? That doesn't mean that you send somebody out and they eat that much, spend that much money every day. You know, that's your deduction. Anything over that amount, then you're responsible to pay for yourself. So that's the way it works.
All good?
Yep.
Sorry, sorry, Councillor Click. I thought maybe you had more to say. Councillor Julich?
To Councillor Hoffman's point, I see the difference between the urban center to CRA is only $4 difference, $4.95 difference. So unless you were talking more about the standard meal per diem, that would put us at $90 for the day and a $17.50 incidental allowance. From what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong again, when we go away, we get the maximum that's there. So if we set this per diem rate, let's say we'd go with the CRA at $109.45, we don't do the incidental allowance. I get paid that. You guys, as long as when I go to conference, I'm not eating breakfast or lunch. So one day I don't eat, I get served breakfast and lunch at my conference, so I don't get paid that amount. I only get paid the $60.45. I've got that understood correctly, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So if at any one of our conferences or that there's a continental breakfast, nobody gets continental or gets the amount for breakfast. If there's, so that at the NCLJ they'll have a lunch, even at the UBCM, you can go to the NCLJ lunch, staff sign you up for that, you don't get the $24.65 for that either. And then if obviously if there's nothing going on for supper, then you're paid the supper. So if I know I'm invited for a dinner, I will advise staff that I am being invited for dinner, and I won't take them out. Because dinner is being supplied by somebody else. Sometimes you're unaware of that. So I'll be honest, at the AMA, I was totally unaware that Kanema would be taking me for dinner. Well, obviously I got paid for dinner, but Kanema bought. I'm fairly open about it. That probably offset my breakfast at Tim Hortons. It cost me $29 or something for coffee and a few things like, so. Yeah, that's exactly how that works.
Okay, so 109 still seems like a lot for me, but I don't want to start fiddling around with numbers. So I don't know. I'm going to wait for somebody else to make a motion on that one, because I could be anywhere between, I look at, we've got other cities here, so we've got as low as 75 for Dawson Creek, and I know theirs used to be closer to 90, but when they were in a budget crunch, they took a cut on that. Fort St. John has 55 and 110, so I don't know if that just, I'm thinking 55 is probably local, maybe 110 is Vancouver. The other cities are at 125, and we're currently at 100. Peace River Regional District's at 125, so I guess 109 actually is pretty much in there to go with CRAs.
I got myself and I got Councillor Hoffman. So to be honest, to me, I am not, I like the concept of that urban center meal, and they talk about it over the 100,000 people. How much staff time is that going to take? I read it. It's staff, it'll be somewhere in here. It's our HR department and such. Sure, we don't do a lot of traveling to 100,000 people, whether that's, so that's Toronto, Vancouver, Victoria, Calgary, Montreal, Quebec, depends where the FCM is. How much staff time is that putting on our staff? And that's for us, 7. But then we also have other staff, if we mingle these two policies together, other staff, when they go to Kelowna and all these other, it could be quite a bit in a year of the staff time. So to me, I look at the standard meal, per diem rate chart, and then I look at the CRAs. And to me, I'm not in favor of an urban center meal, and I appreciate staff putting that together. Because I know there was talk about it having zones and stuff like that, and I just think it's gonna come to staff timing. So I look at the CRA and then compare it to the standard one that staff has proposed as well. And either or works for me. Again, I'm not, we talked about it earlier, it's, to me, I don't think it should cost any of us when we travel, and I'm not just talking mayor and council, but whether it's staff as well, when they're traveling out of pocket. I believe my understanding from staff, and Mr. Orwell, please correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm allotted $90 for the day, because I'm allowed 23, 27, and 40, so a total of 90, all of a sudden, because of where I'm at, my breakfast is 26, my lunch is 30, my dinner's 50, and that's not a T-bone steak, that's just a burger and fries, or fish and chips, what I had at the Pan Pacific was 47 something with a pop. If that's over, all I would have to do is submit my receipt to prove that I paid for a meal, and here it is. And I would be reimbursed?
No.
As per our other expense policy where it says it doesn't cost us anything?
No, you got your travel expense policy and it's covered under there.
Okay. Yeah, no, I appreciate
Whatever you're
that.
allowed, you have to be responsible for what's over and above.
Okay, no, and I appreciate that, thank you. I wasn't sure, I just wanted to confirm. Councillor Hoffman?
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the feedback on that because I was really on the border on that one as well. I don't like adding those sorts of labors when unnecessary, and for the 7 cities in Canada where it would be applied, I appreciate the feedback. Now, unless there's something else, I propose that we just simply make the policy that whatever the CRA per diem rate is going forward, that it changes with the CRA rates, and we leave it at that, and hopefully we don't get too many council members that look to maximize their meals at every given time. But I don't get that impression of that's what people do generally, and that this to me is protecting you from that fish and chip dinner. Like that's what we're doing here, is just saying that here's the circumstances. And as much as I would prefer just a flat number, I understand that breakfast and lunch needs to be excluded so they've picked number for them, it's fine. So let me be clear. I move that we accept the CRA meal per diem rate chart going forward.
Okay, seconder, Councillor Julich, discussion. Councillor Hoffman? No? Okay. You must have been pushing it off, and I was pushing it off at the same time. Okay, any discussion from council? Okay, call the question, all in favor? Motion carries. I'm gonna put a second motion on there, and, maybe this isn't the time, and, Mr. Before we put it in, get a seconder. Again, I want to mimic staff's policy. Do you need a motion to do that, or you guys will?
We'll bring staffs.
Thank you very much. Okay, is there anything else from this policy that council wishes to discuss? Okay, take adjournment. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Hoffman.
Sorry, I went to make this earlier. The UBCM best practices are just so vague in this one, but I just like the idea and letting staff know. I really appreciate having UBCM best practices put in here. When you guys are having policies where that applies, I would love to see it further, even when they are utterly vague and don't actually help with picking a number. Thank you.
Okay. Is something you want added into the meal policy? 'Cause this is the time to do it if you wish. This is the time to do it.
It was more just a general statement on, I liked seeing the UBCM best practices in the reporting when they have policy and other stuff coming in. So I don't remember seeing it before, but I appreciated it this time. But no, that's great.
Okay, take adjournment, please. Councillor Noxana.
That the March 11th, 2024 Policies and Priorities Committee meeting be adjourned.
Seconder, Councillor Hoffman. All in favor? Carried. 5-minute recess.